You're listening to the Academy Podcast, presenting an innovative curriculum for personal growth. Sit in on exclusive conversations with influential people as they share the secrets that made them the front runners in their industries. Now here are your hosts, Austin and Kagia.
Welcome to the Academy Podcast with Austin and G. I'm G. He's Austin.
What's good?
What's going on, Doc?
I'm chilling, man. How you feeling? It's been a good day for the most part. I'm excited to pod though. What's up?
Yeah, man. We about to talk to bros about money. You know, so when you're doing these things, man, we really want to kind of focus in on something, and we try to focus in on one subject. But money, dude, even though money is one subject, there's just such a wide range. I was just thinking, man, money, like, for me has changed. Like when I was a single man, a single young black man versus a young married couple with little kids versus now I'm putting kids in college. 4 years from now, I'll have no responsibility, outside of my wife. So the whole thing changes, man.
That's a really good feeling. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I made trash financial decisions when I got hired. Matter of fact, when I got hired at South Atlantic, man, I made some bad credit card moves and took advice from wrong people. So I think that, the money thing really changed for me when I did get married, and really up until a couple of years, we were just kind of surviving, struggling paycheck to paycheck. It wasn't until, and I know we'll talk about this with our host later, but when I really when my wife took over the finances, we paid off like $12,000 in debt, dude. Like, I'm not gonna lie. She put us in like this crazy budget system, and it was tough, but it works. It works. And so I got no shame saying that we are a lot better financially healthy because of my wife. But it was when I was single, bro. I don't know about you, man. I was just making some bonehead moves.
Yeah, look, so my wife is a thief. She has always stole money from us. All right. Like, so I advise all couples, like, put all the money in one pot. You're married now. You don't need two separate accounts. But I tell you what, my wife always keeps a hidden account somewhere. Like one time it was time for her to buy a car, and she put $10,000 down.
You was lying.
I'm like, where you get $10,000 from? You know what I'm saying? How you put $10,000 on the car? Because we've been broke. Like, we've been broke, for the last few years. And so in 2 years, she had saved $10,000. And she does that all the time. I don't know how much money she got squirreled away, but when it come time to make a big purchase, dude, she's like, oh, I got this.
Well,
I could be tripping, but I can't really be mad, dude. I can't really be mad. Yeah. What's the worst decision you made during that time frame?
When I was young? When I first got in the ministry? You
made a worse decision since. Man. I don't know. What's your worst financial decision?
My worst financial decision was getting a credit card as soon as I got hired. And I swiped on some sneakers. And then I swiped on another pair of sneakers. I'm a sneakerhead, not going to lie. And then what I was doing was just paying off the minimum. I was like, oh, the minimum's like $45. That's not bad. I'll just keep paying the minimum. But after a while, after that year hits, it was like, it's just that interest accrued, man. It just got me, and I was using other stuff for it. It just took bad advice, man. I just took some bad advice, and so
listen, everybody in the world that's listening to this podcast, make all your mistakes when you don't have that much money. Like, make mistakes over sneakers, because my financial mistakes cost a whole lot more than a couple of sneakers.
But it just threw my credit. It threw my credit everywhere,
while you don't have much to lose.
Yeah, it was that. I think I did sneakers, and then I bought my first iMac on the credit card, which I didn't need to. I could have just saved 2 months worth and just bought it, but it's the get it now mentality. But anyway, man, we're gonna get into it. Listen, this is the Academy Podcast, a curriculum for growth, and one of the areas we want to grow is in our finances. About to bring on two brothers, man, who are great guys. I got a chance to listen to them on a platform called The Winning Circle. They came on and talked a lot about finance, being financially free. Talked about just getting out of some debt or making the right money decisions. This Winning Circles is a group by men, for men, for us to kind of connect in that way. So I'm excited to have, man, some fellow podcasters to come on the space, man. So we're excited to have the co-podcasters of the Bars and Bars podcast, Troy and Joseph. They're in the virtual space. Guys, man, thanks for coming on the Academy Podcast today, man.
Bars and bars.
Bars
like
and bars.
First off, because I got all kind of imagery in my head. What is bars and bars?
Well,
is it people that got locked up and they in there rapping against each other?
Not at all. Not at all.
Here come the corny jokes, guys. I just
Hey,
want you to
look,
know.
it's all hey, again, man. It's all good, man. But rap is part of it, man. So the concept is to deliver doctoral level financial knowledge through the medium of hip hop. And that, I guess, that first bar, you could say, I just got my doctoral degree in urban ministry, where I studied financial literacy in the hood. That's what I wrote on. That's what I studied. And so I'm taking everything I learned biblically and otherwise philosophically, and applying that through the medium of hip hop. And that other bars, this is where Boog comes in. Many people don't know it. Still on the podcast, Boog still hasn't hit us with any bars just yet, but it's coming. I'm about to. Hey, look, I'm gonna bend his arm, man. But now Boog can spit, and he grew up rapping and whatnot in the rap group. But we're delivering it through the medium of hip hop, and so we take various hip hop songs or bars in songs that have to do with financial literacy. Sometimes it's positive financial advice. Other times it's not so positive. And we just talk about it. We analyze it. And, people that enjoy hip hop, that's who our audience is.
No, I love that. Joseph, man, are we going to get some bars, man, before this in a podcast? It's come off mute so we can hear you, man. But we need some. He don't even want to give us the word bar, man. Listen,
you know, it's funny. Troy keep bringing that up. Now, I haven't rapped since I was 14 years old, man. So now we're not going to get any bars today, but I do. I am a student of the game, man. And I love hip hop. I think it's an amazing creative art where Black people can get, and within 5 minutes, get such a strong, profound message across, right, in a way that you can bump to it. So yeah, man, we had a lot of fun, man, on a podcast.
Man, that's good stuff, man. We're glad you guys are here, man, to be a part. Me and G got a lot of questions. We're going to really get right into it. And if you don't mind, G, I'm going to hit them with one first. Guys, talk to me. You know, Troy, you talked a lot about the finances in the hood, talked a lot about, the Black experience when it comes to money. For the both of you guys, what are some of the early misconceptions about finances in the Black community that we just miss? What are some things that we don't really catch when it comes to our finances, man?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably back in 2018, Boog and I did a series of financial talks at the church that I used to pastor, and he was my first elder there. And when we were doing question and answer for one of those sessions, a big misconception was that I need a lot of money in order to do well with my finances. And I made a suggestion. I said, look, in order to be a good millionaire, you have to first be a good thousandaire and a good hundredaire, right? You have to do, and that's actually a biblical lesson. Jesus talked about that. You don't get a lot unless you do well with what you already have. And so millions ain't gonna do it. You're gonna do with millions what you did with thousands. You're gonna do with thousands what you did with hundreds. Having a lot of money ain't gonna do much for you. You're just gonna keep doing what you've already been doing. So it's mainly knowledge that we really want to pass on instead of just the tangible aspect of money.
Yeah, I think for me, man, what I notice, it's just how wealth is defined. I think that is probably the biggest misunderstanding. I think a lot of people in our community think wealthy is when you have, consumerism, or you got hottest car, or you have this. And that's probably the biggest fallacy in terms of wealth generation and wealth building. That's one piece. I think on a flip side, outside of the secular world, when you come to church, I think the worst misconception in our at least within our church community is that wealthy equals sinful, right? It's almost like a bad thing to be wealthy. If we don't talk about it, keep it away. It's like, wealth and sex are like two bad words, man. So I think there's a lot of rethinking that needs to happen. But I think those are probably the two biggest misconceptions of how we look at wealth.
All right, let me just say before we go anywhere else. First of all, wealth and sex, like I'm for them.
Amen.
Yes.
All right.
Amen.
All right.
Hey,
Wealth
we-
and sex, great. Put them at the top of the list. All right.
hey,
Money,
I'm with you, G. I'm with you, G. Hey, you
marital
can say that
sex.
again.
Hallelujah. Listen, and I'm proud to say, look, all this time I've been wanting to be, I always dreamed about being a millionaire. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that there was some steps along the way. Troy, I help you. I mean, I appreciate you helping me to understand that there's some errors before millions. And so, yeah. So I've been a thousandaire. All right. I like-
Hey, you and me both, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what's like most important? Let's talk about with finances. Because either sometimes you're broke
Yeah.
and struggling, and you're doing your budget and it's red. You got a red number. Every single month you're moving things
never
around,
good.
trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Because I've been there before, and then all of a sudden, the job situation changes, and you got $2,000 extra a month.
Yeah.
Like, talk to us about you got people who maybe they're in school or what have you, then they finally get their profession.
Sure.
What do you do when you've been struggling so long and then all of a sudden you're not? How can you all prepare us for the time when you do have the extra money?
Yeah. So let me tackle that first, Troy. A lot of it is information and knowledge, right? How you structure. Troy brought up a good point in terms of learning how to be a hundredaire, thousandaire before you could even go and be a millionaire. I think the most critical thing is whether you make $1,000 a month or $5,000 a month, you need to have a proper infrastructure in the way you look at money. And I think a lot of it starts with just a mind frame against things that are taking away from you, right? So there's two columns only. You have a liability column and an asset column, right? So if you're pouring something that's going to cost you money, more headache in the long term, right? And it doesn't make you money, then it's a liability column. If you're putting something in an asset column that's making you money over time, right? That's what we need to start pouring in. So I think the key is let's get the right mind frame and the right infrastructure in how we look at money. And I think the things that Troy and I teach is, look, debt's a killer, man. That's the number one thing. Whatever's taking away from your wealth, whatever's stealing your joy, there's no place for it here, man. So I think that's the one of the biggest things in terms of making sure that you're handling it right. It's having the right tools in place and the right structure.
Yo,
All right, so
I
which one
gotta
is,
say this real quick, just to piggyback what you just said, because I think that's important, how to handle it right. I think one of the things that young men need to know, especially when you're about to get married, is that we do all this counseling for premarital stuff and relationships, communications. But man, I don't know, G, about you, but it's just like, I wish there was some type of class or somebody would have just said, like, dude, you need to spend a couple months learning how to handle your money.
Yeah.
And I think that we focus so much on, I want to make sure I got this right, and the communication can be great, but if that money not great, then that everything is just going
fall down.
It's going to dwindle, man. I don't know. Now, G, I know that you do some premarital stuff, so I know that you're big on that.
Right, and let me say this, let me give big ups to my father-in-law, who schooled us, and my pastor, who gave premarital counseling. Like, we got schooled on finances.
Good.
So any mistakes that we made early was because just because you get schooled don't mean you listen. Mm-hmm. So any mistakes we made was not because we didn't know no better. It's because we didn't listen. And so and I do out of my 6 sessions, one of them is the financial, and because that's the one I got when I was coming through, and we go over a lot of aspects of finances for couples. Not that they're going to take all the advice, but we go through it all.
Yeah.
That's great.
You're going to come out the gate stumbling or running.
Yeah.
The one that come out the gate stumbling usually don't win. It's like Seabiscuit. They usually don't win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, we talked about finances early, man, and started doing the budget. Let me tell you what happened when we first started doing our budget, dude. We found $1,500.
Yeah.
And like every month, like we were running out of money. but we had $1,500 extra every month. So where was that money going?
That budget's major.
And the reality is, man, if you're
budget's
not
major.
looking, if you ain't looking, you can't find it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you don't know where the money is being wasted. So
And believe it or not, Kagir, that's completely normal. So I do financial coaching where I sit down mostly with couples. I do sit down with folk that are single and help them to coach them through whatever financial goals that they have. And that is 100. Everyone that I have coached who had not previously been budgeting, even those that have been budgeting, learning how to kind of cut that budget down. People are finding all kinds of money that they thought they never had. So that's 100% normal, man. I bet everyone, about 99.9% of people are like that.
So Troy, talk to me about this. You talk about young couples. You guys have probably dealt with both of them. What are some of the early mistakes that young couples just make? I know one of them is really not doing that budget. What are some other pitfalls that young couples just kind of get into that you've kind of seen?
Yeah, I'll tell you, and y'all were asking each other your biggest financial mistakes. I'll tell you mine, and it happened literally while I was on my honeymoon, and that was getting a timeshare. They got me with that.
G hanging his head because he knows all about that. Yeah, go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, look, man, they got us, and here's the thing, man. We went into the meeting saying, "Hey, we don't want a timeshare. We just in here to get these free tickets for Universal Studios." And next thing I know, and I didn't understand it back then, but psychologically, man, they had us almost in a corner, pretty much. And so making major financial decisions early without enough communication. And normally, if you're making a major financial decision, which that was, you want to give yourself at the very least 24 hours to think, pray, talk, discuss, ask people, get some wisdom from people that have come before you. And the big mistake we made with that is we made a major decision literally in the span of, we were in that room for about 2 hours, maybe 3, I don't know what it was. And we made a major financial life decision just in the span of 2-3 hours. And that really set us back. And we struggled with that timeshare for years and we never used it. And so I'm not just here harping on timeshares per se, even though I
no,
think
go ahead, harp on them.
I'll do that. I think timeshares, I've never seen a good deal on the timeshares.
They suck.
Yeah, never seen it. But besides timeshares and that concept, my major concept is, y'all have to talk, discuss, pray, pump the brakes, give yourself some room to make a decision. And if you feel like you're being pressured into a decision, then I'll tell you 99.9% of the time, it is going to be a bad financial decision because they know that if you have enough time to talk, think, pray, discuss, ask wisdom,
you won't
do it.
You're
You're not going to do it.
Last thing before we move on from timeshares.
Okay.
Hey, look, he hurt, guys. He hurt. He's
All right.
Dude, they lie. So
Yeah.
it don't just sound good and it's some hidden thing. No, they're actually lying.
Yeah.
Like, the person you're talking to
Sure.
is actually lying to you.
Yeah.
They're saying this, that, and the other, but that is not true. Okay.
Yeah. And believe it or not, there's high turnover in that industry for salespersons because it's not and I'm not gonna say everyone is lying, but you're not showing the whole truth. Let me put it like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, Joseph, he just talked a lot about, man, just that 24 hours making those decisions. There's a lot of pressure when you got to make a decision. It's different when there's like an emergency. You got to get some new tires. You got to do something with your house. Pipes burst, something like that. But when it comes to these, when you're in rooms or you're in a car dealership or you're trying to buy a home, is that where a lot of these mistakes come? We don't really take that 24 hours.
Look, so I'm in sales. I'm in business, man. Impulse purchases is a real thing. Like, and there's the reason why you go to the grocery store, you see things with sugary that right by the aisle before you leave. It's the idea of you actually going to make a decision, going based off emotions and not off based of logic. Right. Here's how you rebut against things like that. That I think is even more important for couples is when you're aligned on a vision or where you're going, right? You win. That's what the Bible says. People who lack knowledge or vision perish. So I think the biggest thing is like, look, what is the overarching, goal or thing that we're trying to go after? and understand the pitfalls, man. Like, know them before you go. Like, and because we tend to be passive and not, intentional about things we do, we find ourselves privy to it. So I think the big takeaway for me to deal with that, or to answer your question, yes, it's a real thing. Impulse is a real thing, but the way we combat against it is making sure that we're aligned on where we're going. I think that's what's important.
Okay, let me throw this in there too, because don't throw good money after bad. Like, so if you've made a bad decision on an impulse, like, oftentimes there's a way out. So, because I know you talking about going to the car dealership, we were just driving by, and my wife knew I was looking at Challengers. We was just driving by this dealership, and she was like, "Yo, let's test drive that Challenger right there." I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
And so we stopped. We went in there, test drove that thing. An hour later, like, we buying it.
Yeah.
And she was just like, "I didn't mean to, buy it. I just thought you wanted to drive one." So we bought the thing, but within a month, we saved $14,000 by getting it financed somewhere else. And by me finding out that I was lied to in a room because they asked me, did I want something? I said no. They gave it to me anyway. Later on during the refinancing with somebody else, we found out that they had that on there.
Wow.
And so it was 9,000 and 6,000. So it was a total of $14,000 that I saved, a month after that bad purchase.
Yeah.
And so, I'm in the same car, but I was able to undo the mistake.
Yeah.
And so don't just take the loss. Don't just take the L when there may be a way out of it. There may be a way, to don't throw good money after bad. It's just what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm with that, man. I'm with that. And this is why getting coaching or accountability partners or people to help look at things with you is so critical, man. And I don't think we share enough in our community, in terms of financial decisions, man. So shout out. That's a smart decision in terms of refinancing and getting better rates.
I was going to ask you guys this because you all brought this up in the winning circle, man. You talked about financial infidelity. You guys were big on financial infidelity. I think it caught a lot of guys by surprise. Now I know the occasional guy, a woman may have a side account, a Cash App account here and there, and something to surprise that account to surprise wifey with. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking you guys talked about some tough financial decisions that cause financial infidelity, especially for married couples. So talk to us a little bit about what that is and how couples fall into that.
Yeah, so financial infidelity is, I don't want to say it's exactly on the same level of as physical infidelity or emotional infidelity, but it is a real thing in that if you are being dishonest, maliciously dishonest about finances, if you are hiding financial matters from your spouse, if you are making major purchases and trying to run and catch the UPS guy before he can knock on the front door so that the whole house knows what you bought, then there's an issue there. There's a lack of communication. And philosophically, for me, as a pastor, and Kagia, I'm sure, and Austin, you can say the same, that if your communication in marriage about anything is bad, then more often than not, you're not going to make it. You're not going to last. And that can include finances. And when the rubber hits the road, or when the jig is up, I should say, and your spouse finds out that you've been making purchases beyond what both of you agreed to within the budget, that you've been dishonest and that you've been hiding, even if they say it's cool, the damage has been done, and trust is now being seeped or has been seeped out of your relationship. It's tough to rebound from that. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, but you've got to make some changes within yourself through the power of the Holy Spirit.
And you're not talking about like I went out to eat by myself, or I went to go pick up something from Amazon for $25. You're talking about major purchases.
Well, let me jump in with this, because like when we go over the budget, you gotta budget like allowance and
Thank you.
and
You have
free
to.
spending.
Thank you.
Like
Sure.
you don't
Thank
want people, you don't want your wife calling, asking or letting you know that she's stopping to get something to eat. Okay,
Right.
Stop and get something to eat. You go out with your friends after work. Like you should have a certain amount of money
Right.
that's not accounted for because. Don't judge me because I buy sneakers because I'm buying sneakers with the money that's set aside for me to
Thank
buy
you.
whatever I want with this amount of money.
Sure.
Thank you.
And so when you're doing a budget, two things. The budget will help you not be able to cheat. Because if you're doing a budget every single month, it's all there.
Yeah.
You know where it's coming
You
from.
see what I'm
You know where
saying?
it's
So
going. Yeah.
so I can't make this huge purchase and get away with it because it's right in front of our faces. And so that's one thing. The way my wife was able to do it, and she still does it, it's like when I used to set my clock 10 minutes early so that I'd be on time places. And even though I know I did it, I still forget, and it helps me to get places on time because I've tricked myself. And so when you have money going directly from your paycheck to a separate account, that helps you not to spend it. It helps you to save without literally having to take the money out and put it
Like a
somewhere
surf
else.
account, something like
and
that.
so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the way
yeah,
she usually saves her money. She usually takes
Correct.
big chunks, like out of every check. It don't even get to our account. But the
Correct.
fact is, we're doing a budget every single month. Neither one of us can make big purchases and it not show up. But we do have the leeway. If I want to spend on an in-app purchase on my phone, I can do it. It ain't none of her business because I'm doing it with my piece of the money that we said. What is my allowance? Is it 100? Is it 200? What is
Correct.
the money that I can spend on whatever I want to spend it on every single month?
Correct.
Joseph, you were gonna say something?
No, I was going to say this because I've seen this even in my family, my grandmother. There's two sides of the coin, right? You have the infidelity of people who are misspending money, taking out loans against their 401k, or have all these other things and separate it. But you could be even saving money or keeping money aside because you think you're helping your family and not communicate. That still, in my perspective, falls into the category of infidelity. Like you got to get to the root of the issue. Like if we're not aligned on money, like what I'm saying, and not to call you out, G, but I've seen this happen on so many times. Like what I'm saying, oh, my husband don't know, I'm saving it because he be spending too much. Well, you got to deal with the spending issue. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like because at the end of the day, you need both people to come together to make your dreams possible. And if you don't need both people, you're not dreaming big enough, man.
Listen, Joseph, I'm
I'm with you. My wife cheated on me.
That's not an edit. We're not editing it out either. Look,
Hey,
Troy.
it is what it is, man.
Hey,
She
you heard him,
cheated,
Troy.
My
I ain't
wife's
hear
a
nothing.
cheater, man.
You ain't
I
hear
ain't
nothing, Troy.
hear
Right? I ain't hear nothing.
Hey, you
Hey,
give by
Joseph
himself,
said it.
bro.
Look,
Yeah,
Joseph
give by
said it.
himself.
He's not meeting me. Joseph said it. Look, we're gonna put it on
Joseph
him.
threw the
All right.
lob up. He just dunked it. I ain't nothing to do with me and Troy.
And this live city over here, man. Yeah.
Hey, you know what, Joseph? Listen, man, I'm not gonna lie. We saved so much money, man. This COVID has not been a blessing at all, but one of the outcomes of COVID in our family life was us taking a closer examination of our finances. When we moved from Atlanta to where we are now, we didn't one of the things that hurt us was my wife was making more money. So some of the mistakes we were making financially in Atlanta, we didn't feel as much, we didn't see as much until we got, to North Carolina and realized, man, we're paying more for where we're living, but financially we're making less. And some of those bad habits that we had early on, we had to dig ourselves out of. And so, like I said in the intro earlier, man, like literally it was not until my wife took over the financial reins maybe about a year and a half ago that we just started just budgeting, like G said, finding money that you didn't think you had, and the allowance did help. But bro, I think that, as a lot of men want to say, I want to be the breadwinner, I want to be the one that brings on the money, or I want to be the one that oversees it. One of the things I encourage people who are listening, if your spouse or your partner, whoever, is just better at it than you are, do not be ashamed to say, you know what, I can't complain. As much as I thought I was doing a good job, she's done a far better job of doing it. But that didn't mean that there weren't sacrifices, or my ego didn't take a hit initially, Troy. Like I had to kind of get over the fact that I'm giving this to her to look at. But I think her careful eye, her organization skills definitely did help. And I think that there are some, and I praise God that there are some mistakes that we can make. Like you just said, even with the car, that you can kind of get yourself out of. But I think one of the things that sucks, Troy, and I want to pitch this quick question to you, Troy, is what sucks is how long it does take to fix some bad mistakes. My wife is always saying, I want to get to the place where if I want to just buy something, I want to be able to say, we have enough money over here, we can just buy the joint. We don't have to kind of devise a 10-step plan how to move money here and save on this and don't go out to eat for 2 months to kind of cover a cost. And even though we're better, Troy, it just takes time. And do you find that some couples just kind of quit just because it just takes too much time?
Yeah,
when it comes to the debt portion.
And look, man, I've been part of that biblical borrowing, robbing Peter to pay Paul. I've done that before too, man. That's biblical, only in the sense of the names. But yeah, that happens all the time. And here's the thing: if you're gonna get well financially, it is not a get rich quick thing. Biblical principles of handling finances in most cases is a slow ride. Now, there are things that you can do to facilitate it or to make it quicker. And so when my wife and I got out of debt, this was like December of 2017. It took us about 22 months, I think. And we had to, in a major way, decrease our spending. So we weren't eating at restaurants a whole lot. And my wife cooks well, praise God. And we ate in the house all the time. And it was like a restaurant to me.
That's it. That's all right. Hey, you good.
I was real good. And the thing is, every meal wasn't elaborate. We weren't having salmon every meal. And I mean, a lot of times it was some veggies, some rice, maybe some veggie meat or something, or, something that costs less money to make. And we made a lot of sacrifices, such as we cut the cable off at some points. We didn't buy as much clothes. I went like a year and a half almost without buying any clothing. I had bought one tie because I had to do a wedding in Nashville, and I forgot my tie at home, so I had to go to the mall, grab the tie. But you best believe when I got back home, I went to that same Nationwide store and returned that mug because I was serious. And as Boog is saying, you've got to be aligned. You've got to be on the same page, have the same goal. And we had that. We talked about it. Hey, here's how we can get out of debt. Here's the date. And everything that we're doing, we are working towards that goal. Everything else can go. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it does take some sacrifices. Like I said, it took us 22 months to get out of debt. And at that point, I think we had about 60-something thousand. And it took us 22 months to do that. But it's well worth it. And your wife is right. Like, yo, there comes a time when you don't have to rob Peter to pay Paul in order to do the things that you want to do. And that's like one of the best feelings in the world, man.
Yeah.
Well, tell me this, and I'm glad that you didn't spill any juice on that tie.
Very true, man. That would have been a disaster. I'd have found a way. Trust me, I'd have found a way.
Oh, and right before we go on, like earlier, you were talking about like letting the one that's financially together kind of handle the finances. But what I realized is that like in our house, like when we got a lot of extra money, like it's fine for her to do it. But when we're on the line, like earlier on in the marriage, she was stressed out about the money, and I was like, "We good, we'll be all right. Gotta get us through." And so all the stress levels were on her because I didn't even know what was going on. I just had faith, but she wanted me to also be there and see what was going on.
Yeah.
And in that, I was able to say, "Okay, we can't pay all the bills right at the beginning of the month like you like to pay it. We got to wait till the money comes in. So we got to pay bills on 3 different dates in the month." And I was able to kind of do it on the computer and kind of spread it out. So though she is better at the minutia of getting the bills paid, I serve a purpose too. And even if I didn't serve a purpose, I need to have knowledge. We need to sit at the table and do the budget together so that we both share the knowledge of what's going on with the finances. So regardless of who is better at it, we still need to both be at that table. And so just wanted to say that, but asking you all this right quick. Like, so what is, I know when I first, got my house, they were saying that back then your property should be, whether you're renting or paying a mortgage, 25% of your income. Like, your car should be this certain percentage of your income. Like, help us with like knowing like what's above, what's living above your means and
Yeah.
what's living below your means as far as percentages of.
Yeah.
You got $7,000 coming in a month for a couple. How much is too much to spend for stuff?
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Boo.
yeah, that's a good question, man. And I've seen ranges. That 25% is a safe number. I would range it. I would say between 25 and 35% you want to keep for your home expenses. But look, I think at this age, we got to be creative, man. Like, look, especially for African Americans, we have been through a lot of financial trauma, right? I mean, you just think of
True.
whether we were told like we came from slavery, so our history shows no wealth. You look at people today, you know, either you're going to be an athlete or an entertainer, and a lot of people are just flossing stuff. And so a lot of people have this dilemma: either you're not going to be successful, or your only ticket is you're going to have to get a whole bunch of student loans, go to college. That's your only ticket to success. So this is my thing, right? There's different levels to it. Reduce cost, man. Like, sacrifice a little crap. Like, if you have to live in, and again, if you're single, married, like, keep it somewhere low, like, you know, keep expenses low. But I would say you want to keep that home expense 20 to 35%. You know, all the other expenses, like, you should 50% should be your overall expenses. Like, you don't want to get past 50% because you still want to leave a little bit cushion to kind of get out the debt. You want to leave a couple cushion to give. You want to leave a cushion to enjoy, right? So I try to keep everything at that 50% level for me, right? But I'm also cognizant that everybody's in different levels. So you have to kind of figure it out. But the goal is to keep them as low as possible.
So if you got kids in college, would you cut them off like while they're in college and make them get student loans?
Yeah, man. Look, the best gift you could give your kid, is pay for their college. But look, I've changed, man. Like, when I growing up, I always thought going to community college, you were a failure, man. Like, you couldn't cut it for college. Boy, if you don't go to
That
community
joint's
college
different now.
courses, you know what I'm saying, or your GD courses, if you don't go to that state school, and right now, unless you go to a top 10 university, you are negative ROI post college. Like you're not getting that job that's going to pay back your private loans, right? So I say that to say, like, reduce costs, man, across the board, student loans everywhere, man. It's a killer.
Yeah, you know, for me, I wish that, and I thoroughly enjoyed my experience at Oakwood. I went to the right place, but I definitely would have worked it more, not by going to community college. Now, I think community college is great. I have nothing against it, and even state colleges, even though I'm invested in the Adventist system. Please understand me. But if you're going to go to an Adventist school, it doesn't mean that student loans are great all of a sudden. You know what I mean? And student loans I haven't met not one person that said, yo, I'm so glad I had student loans, ever. I've never met that person, right? For me, instead of getting student loans, I wish I would have worked a lot more. And a lot of our parents, or us as parents, I should say, now that I'm on this side of things, are like, nah, I don't want my baby to work while they're in school. I just want them to focus on getting good grades. But the reality is that students that work, on average, get better grades than those who don't work. And you best believe that when our kids are in school, they have a lot of chill time, which is fine. I want people to have a good social life. But I don't want you to have a good social life at the expense of the next 20 years of paying off student loans. No one wants that. And all we see is, I just want to have a good time, or I want my child to have a good time in school. But at the expense of the next 20 years of trying to pay loans off, absolutely not. So if we're going to go to Adventist school, and I understand our audience, we have got to get our kids to work, whether it's on campus, off campus usually has better pay, I think. But find alternatives. You need to be applying for scholarships like crazy. Do not use the excuse of, Adventist school is expensive to say, hey, I'm just going to settle for student loans. Don't settle for that. Make sure that you work, get scholarships, do some other stuff.
Yeah, I like that, man. I think that those are some tools that's needed for us to think about. I love that, man. Hey, Joseph, I'm with you, man. Community college back then, you're like, man, nah, go to HBC, go to the top school. But man, Joker, get that degree, get up out of there. I think that's the wisdom. Now, listen, let's switch gears a little bit, guys, as we want to really get into the meat of what you guys do. You talk about financial peace, financial freedom. Man, guys, if you could just give us real quick, don't give away the whole thing, but give us just 3 top things you think that people need to do to start the path toward financial freedom.
Hey, Boo, why don't you take this one first, man?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I think number one is you got to get rid of just debt, like the debt mentality, not just numbers, but this idea that you always are going to have to be owing somebody something. That's step number one. I think number 2, man, is you got to make sure that you're saving money. Like in case a rainy day happens or something goes off, just work that saving muscle is important. And then I think the third thing, and we haven't really talked about this, and I don't think we talk about it enough in our community, is we need to be investing, right, and making more money, right? We need to increase our income. $20,000 a year, $30,000 a year ain't gonna cut it. Like you need to find a side hustle, do something. But when you take that money, invest it, and that's biblical. Like when you look at the talents, the parable of the talents. One guy gets 5 talents, another one gets 3, another one gets 1. You equate talents to today's world. That's $1 million. And the Bible says that the guy who took his talent and kept it on the dirt, he called him a fool. Pretty much, are you stupid? You could at least put it in a bank and get interest, right? So God is calling us out, like, yo, listen, don't be dumb with your money, man. So that is for me, man. Get out of debt, save and protect, and then more importantly, invest, man. Invest your money, your time, and your resources.
Yeah, and I would say some strong pointers for me is, and Book already touched on this earlier in the episode, that especially for married couples, you've got to get on the same page. And every couple that sits on my couch as a financial coach, their issue, none of them, by the way, has been income. Together, they've always, all the couples that I've coached have made more than enough. I'm talking about 6 figures, way beyond 6 figures together, right? So money was never the issue, or income was never the issue. The issue has always been learning how to work together. They're fighting, they spending this money over here, he's spending that money, she's spending that money, and that's always the issue. They're not aligned with the same goal. And once I get them working towards the same goal, man, the money is already there. They make the income. They start flying to higher heights. So that's number one. Number 2 is to make sure that you're that in our culture we're leaving a positive financial legacy of stewardship. And so for many of us, we may not have had parents that excuse me. Thank you. We may not have had parents that whether it's forget about tangible assets, right? Just the knowledge piece of it. We don't, and in African American communities, for whatever reason, I don't want to overgeneralize this, but when it comes to financial conversations, many times a lot of things are just brushed under the rug. We don't talk a lot about stuff. Stuff is just like, hey, I never knew that mutual funds was a thing. I never knew about the stock market. I never knew about home ownership. Yeah, my parents, and I'm speaking personally, my parents did own homes when I was growing up, but I never really knew about mortgages and that sort of thing. And I believe that my parents did the very best that they could to teach me certain things. So my mom taught me how to budget when I was probably about 11 or 12 or so. But I'm saying in the African American community in general, we don't talk enough about money. Yeah. And if our generations behind us are going to have a positive legacy of financial stewardship, we've got to communicate. We've got to talk. That's plain and simple.
That's good. Guys, you guys, I know that you guys travel and do a lot of this stuff, man. So hearing you say that the couples, and G, I think this is true because I know you counsel couples too, but couples that make way more than I do, that have this struggle, lets me know that I am not alone in this thing, man. I'm not the only one. Go ahead, G.
Yeah, but I'm just listening, man, and I'm kind of geeked. I'm excited and want to talk to you because a lot of times we're just trying to survive. And if I'm in a generation that's trying to survive, then my kids better be at the next place. Like we can't continue to every generation just get by, just like be able to survive, be able to have a place to live, be able to have the lights on. Like there has to be something next. There has to be a next level. And so like my mom, she paid for me to go to college, and so I didn't have that over my head.
Nice.
I made the dumb mistake of taking out crazy student loans while I was in graduate school, just to buy refrigerators and lawnmowers and everything. I was spending all kind of money, thinking that money was
That's because
free.
that refund looked good. 5,000 right now.
Yeah, man. Right. The refunds was nice, but we really got to set up the next level. And so, and just for the last few minutes to talk about like not survival, not getting by, not arguing with your wife, but look, how can let's come up. Like I only got one rental property, man, but look, I'm almost 50 years old, man. It's time. Like I'm at the age. Me and my wife. Look, it's like let's go. Like when am I supposed to enjoy money? Like when am I supposed
That's
to?
a good question.
You know what I'm saying? I was driving minivans. My wife was so mad one time. I came home with a minivan with a dent in it. She said, "How you gonna buy a car that already got a dent in it?" So look, we done already been through all of that. At some point, we have to get to the place where we can begin to enjoy financial freedom and stack some money, and again make it so that the next generation doesn't have to start from scratch. And so help us with that. We talked about saving, but that last point that you had, Joseph, man, let's talk about stacking loot.
Let's do it. So let me just, because I'm geeked up now. Not that I wasn't geeked up before, but let me say this, man. I don't think as a people we dream big enough. I think we have naturally, and this is again the financial trauma in our community, we naturally set our bars so low. And I think as fathers, it's our responsibility to create a space where our kids can still dream big. This idea of getting old. And I'll tell you my personal story. My dad won a lottery to come to the United States of America. When I was a kid, he always took me back to the village, showed me where he's from. He said, "Yo, look, I had no shoes. I had to walk 2.5 miles to go to school every single day and come back. With an education, you could do much more." When I was 13, 14, my dad was a real estate guy. He bought up a whole bunch of property in Jersey City before gentrification hit it. When I was a teenager, he said, "Son, I'm gonna teach you about rentals. You're gonna manage all my properties. I'm not hiring a property manager. You deal with the tenant. You tell them you're the head person in charge." Or HNIC, you called it. "You're the head man in charge." And you do it. And yo, let me tell you something. I got that bug and that mentality to say, "Oh snap, this is how cash flow works." So fast forward at 22 years old, I buy my first investment property. I got a couple dollars, and to witness it and see it, and I said, "Wait a minute, like take it to the next level." If my father can come from a village and own 7 properties, if I'm in America now with an education and the knowledge that he poured into me, why can I not triple X that? And why do I have to wait till I'm 70 years old to have a decent 401k to actually enjoy life when I'm doing it? And I made a commitment to my wife. I said, "Look, babe, it's not going to be our story. We're going to enjoy life now." And proudly, I was able to retire off my wife, and I'm working on retiring on myself, but I'm not waiting till I'm 50. But it comes with this: 1, dreaming big; 2, following the principles that God gave you; and 3, man, getting up this knowledge and information and removing this trauma, man. Like we don't think big enough, man. So this is my counsel to everybody. You don't got to wait till you're 70. Let's make some good decisions, make some good investments, get yourself a good coach, and make it happen.
Boom.
That's good. Get a coach, man. Real quick, guys. I know that we get ready to wrap up. Well, is there a fear you think in our community to be afraid, Troy, to get a financial coach? I mean,
yeah, I definitely do see that in our communities, and it's not just financial coaches. People are scared to talk to therapists still in our communities.
That's a fact.
People are scared to some extent. Maybe this is more open, but to talk to marriage counselors. People think that, I just do it by myself. Many people don't find the value of paying to get a service in return to help be coached through life. But I tell you what, man, I don't know where I would be without marriage counselors. You know what I mean? Probably divorced somewhere, to be honest. But premarital counseling was a must for us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known how to deal with issues. So, therapy is a must. Financial coaches for a lot of people are going to be a must so that you can be properly motivated and set in the right direction. Because you can have the motivation, but be sent in the wrong direction, and next thing you know, you're not where you thought you would be. So to get the motivation and to be sent in the right direction through a trusted voice, that is essential.
That's good.
Yeah, you got to make some money while you're sleeping.
Yep. That's it.
If you got to work for all your money, then you got to always work.
Yep.
That's true.
That's it.
It's true. Very true. I like that.
Hey man,
Yeah.
I just want to be able to go into see a car lot and just say, you know what, babe, let's pick that one out. We got loads
Eeny,
of
meeny,
money.
miny, mo.
I just want to pick it, man. I just want to go out there and just grab it, man. I don't want the minivan with the dent in it, man. Give me the new joint. Give me the new joint.
Yo, I love that Villager, man. I love that Mercury Villager. But look,
Mercury Villager.
and even when you got the money though, you still take care of it. Like you don't just pick it. Like you get it on a good deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't get bamboozled just because you got money. Because some of us when we get money, we develop holes in our pockets as well. So
We just like the option. I just want the option. Like I can
the option to get. If I wanted to, I can get it.
Correct. It feels good.
right.
Yeah, that's a bet, man. That's a bet, guys. Man,
'cause
we appreciate it today, man.
And just,
Yeah.
I think y'all all agree, but I'm gonna just the reality of what you were talking about. Talking about you don't want to be 50 when it happens. But look, I was in Hawaii in 2019, and like at some point I was looking at some 20-year-olds like jumping off this huge rock, like, and I knew that 10 years earlier that would have been me.
So you ain't do it?
No,
Come
I jumped
on.
off another rock, but it wasn't that rock. You know what I'm saying? Yo, so
Man, this man jumped from the sand into the water, man. Talking about some another rock.
no, I got proof. I got video footage. But the reality is, I said, man, I should have been here 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we don't need to wait forever to enjoy, what God has put on this earth for us to enjoy. And we got to put ourselves in a position to where we can
To make it
enjoy that
happen.
earlier.
Yep.
And if we don't do that, just making a certain amount of money and spending that money every month.
Correct.
We do that by both taking care of our debt. I'm gonna go through your list. Taking care of our debt, saving some money, and then making our money make some money.
That's it.
And everybody that listens to this podcast
That's it.
gotta be doing steps 1, 2, and 3.
That's it. I need
like
that. I
that.
need that. Listen, I wish I would have made some better decisions a couple of days ago when GameStop stock went through the roof. I saw all the alerts. I saw it, man, a couple weeks ago. $2.32. I should
Who'd have
have.
thought? Who'd have thought?
Who would have thought it jumped
GameStop
to
was in
480?
GameStop was in
400.
trouble last year, man. GameStop was
Closing
in
store,
trouble.
and I'm a gamer.
Yeah.
Closing stores. I should have bought AMC 2 days ago. Didn't do it. I was like, dude, man, it just.
Hey, look, it's all right. There are always gonna be opportunities, man. Trust me.
Yeah,
Don't worry
that's what
about
I've
it.
learned, man. I'm more eager looking into it, man. But guys, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks
guys
for having
came
us,
through.
man.
Yeah.
Fellow podcasters, man. Tell the folk, we want to support each other. Where can we find you guys on the pod?
Yeah.
How can we connect you guys?
Yeah, so the podcast is called Bars and Bars, and you can find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, probably Stitcher, and some other platforms. But Spotify and Apple Podcasts are going to be the main ones. We drop an episode every Tuesday, and so we're dropping next Tuesday. I can just for your listeners only, I'm gonna kind of give us a preview. We're gonna be
Give me the
talking about.
preview.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about DJ Khaled when he featured Nas on the song Nas album Done. And we're giving a shout out. This is going to be the first Tuesday in February. We're shouting out some black-owned small businesses. But we're talking about literally the conversation before we get there is about black-owned businesses, their support, sometimes lack of support, while we ourselves as hosts and co-hosts have not at times supported black businesses, or why we currently do. And so you really want to hear that episode, weigh in, make sure you kind of talk and discuss. I think it's a really good conversation starter.
Yeah, we just dropped into this past Tuesday called By the Block. So if you're interested in real estate, that's definitely a good one to tune into. So we got a lot of good stuff on the podcast.
Yep.
Man, good stuff, man. Well, guys, we appreciate y'all coming through, blessing us as always, man. We appreciate it. Academy Podcast, Curriculum for Growth. G, man, what you think?
Fat pockets, Doc. Fat pockets. Hey.
Yo. Yeah. Well, as always, man, catch us guys on, of course, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from, all your DSPs, YouTube, Facebook. We look forward to seeing you guys next time on the Academy Podcast. Y'all take care.
All right, thanks.
Peace.
You've been listening to the Academy Podcast with Austin and G. Hit the subscribe button and come again. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and of course, Facebook. Oh yeah, and if you know someone who could use the information you just gained, take a minute to share. Much love from the AP.